Okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about some of the concepts of Jiu Jitsu and strategies of Jiu Jitsu. Starting with the traditional strategy, which is not really the way I view it anymore, but it's a good teaching tool, and it'll help explain the other stuff. So the traditional kind of strategy in Jiu Jitsu is just a 4-phase thing, and John Danaher on the Joe Rogan Experience, I think the show is called, did a really good explanation on this. So watch that. John Danaher on Joe Rogan Experience, and he said basically it's this: take the guy down, pass his legs, move through a hierarchy of positions, and submit the guy. 4-step process. So we want to take the guy down, okay? We want to get past his legs, because legs, I mean, they're dangerous. They could kick us, they could submit us, right? So we get past the legs, we get into dominant positions that we could strike from. Bam, 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 bam. And if you're doing just regular sport jiu-jitsu, well, you don't have to strike. I mean, you never have to strike, honestly. In jiu-jitsu, you can control the guy well enough so that you, it's not a big deal. You don't have to hurt a person. So there's choice in it, which is why they call it the gentle art, because like the piano in Italian is soft, but piano can be played loudly or softly, and your jiu-jitsu can be done violently, or it can be done, gently. So just remember that you don't have to hit people, which is kind of cool if you're a pacifist. But anyway, back to that progression, 4-step progression, the strategy of jiu-jitsu. You're trying to get to a point where you can control the guy. The first step, you take him down. It's because, and he explains this very well in the podcast, but when you take a guy down, it limits his ability to be able to really hurt you with what he called explosive dynamic movement. So you're limiting his ability to hurt you. So he used the example of when you take when you want to brand a steer, you take the steer down, because otherwise it will kick you and kill you. You don't want it to kill you, so you take it down where it can't really create a lot of momentum or anything to hurt you. So you take him down first. That's the first step, right? Take him down, and then you pass his legs, because he could use his legs to hurt you. So you get past his legs. Once you're past his legs and you're on top of him and you're pinning him in a series of pins, which you can strike from or not, then you've got the control. Now you go ahead and submit the guy. That's basically the old style of jiu-jitsu, traditional style. And then if none of that works, then of course you go for a leg lock, because leg locks are outside the norm of that game. But jiu-jitsu is different nowadays. So instead of going through that whole process, which we could and should try to, you can take a more liberal approach and really just try to isolate limbs and control the limbs. So I can control a leg and just control a guy just like it's a side control. I can pin him that way. I could also control his arm that way and control him. I can control his head and control him, and then look for a submission. So instead of just being limited to moving through that basic 4-step progression, you can now move through a basic series of you got to get a setup. So call that a deception step. You got to deceive him somehow, and then you got to control him, and then you got to submit him. Deceive, control, submit. Deceive, control, submit. And I'll say it a few more times so it sticks in your brain. Deceive, control, submit. Deceive, control, submit. And that's really how I look at jiu-jitsu nowadays, anyway. So with that knowledge, you have a real clear path on how to get what you want. You always have a place to go. So that's kind of the big picture of jiu-jitsu. And now that you know what the big picture looks like, you can start putting all the little puzzle pieces together. You're learning techniques and stuff, and you may be watching techniques on YouTube or whatever, and you can figure out how to piece them together to get what you want. You've got a clear direction. You can do old school traditional, or you can do new school, kind of like almost kind of like a catch as catch can style. It's kind of funny because that's like you know, it started in England and it came here to America, and it's basically been doing the new school approach to jiu-jitsu since forever, except for they do things a little more dirty where they're trying to hurt you a lot, like make you uncomfortable and stuff, which is, you know, great for competition. It's awesome, and great for MMA or great for a street fight, but you know, not so great when you're rolling with your buddies because they'll think you're a dick. Anyway, that's the basics, and you know, let that guide you, and you'll be able to put together your kind of a game, you know, what you want to do, your unique thing, and that will help. All right, that's basically what it is. All right.